This is the IFF TV podcast.
Hello, welcome to Irish Football Fan TV. We are back. It's our first League of Ireland video of 2022. I'm joined by Gary Spain, fresh from the World Club Championship. We're here to discuss the League of Ireland transfer window and who are the real winners and losers. Firstly, Gary, I'll just get a little soundbite on how your trip was before we get into that.
Oh yeah, it was a good trip. It's nice to get some good weather this time of year and some good football as well.
Yeah, definitely. Very jealous that you're over in the sun. But here we are. The League of Ireland obviously starts back this week. The President's Cup was on Friday night. I don't know if you got a chance to watch that. It finished 1-1 in full time, and then Shamrock Rovers won in on penalties. And yeah, it was a good game. I watched bits of it. I was working myself, so I didn't get to catch the whole lot. But I was watching it on LOI TV. It was on there for free. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but good game and a good kind of marker for the season ahead. Some really good young players as well as some really good players on show.
Yeah, no, it was actually too late for me. I was 4 hours ahead in Abu Dhabi, and I had planned to try and watch it, but it didn't start till after midnight or something. So I just actually ended up falling asleep. So I did follow it the next morning, But yeah, it's a good start for Rovers to win it, albeit on penalties. But I'm sure Pats will be quite happy to go to Tala and get a 1-1 draw in normal time anyway.
Yeah, it wouldn't be like Rovers to get a late equaliser, would it? So
No.
they're back on form anyway around the field.
It is a sign. It is a really good sign of a team, though, and it's a real sign of champions. That no, I said I didn't see the game, but Rovers did it so often, and it's a sign of champions that you can actually do it when you're not performing well, that you can still get a late equaliser, you can still get a result.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose we'll kick things off. I have to give a shout out to Andrew Dempsey, who's put together a list of the transfers for all the clubs here, and it's on Pundit Arena. I'll have a link to the article in the description. And yeah, we'll start off, I suppose, the ins and outs and re-signs. So we'll do the re-sign, then the ins, and then we'll do the outs. So they've re-signed Liam Burt, Ali Coote, Dawson Devoy, Rory Feely, James Finnerty, Kieran Kelly, Conor Levinson, Stephen Mallon, Jamie Mullins, James Talbot, Tyreek Wilson, and Promise Omosher are the re-signed players. They've actually re-signed Chris Twardek, who was obviously, I think he went to Poland originally. He's came back now. They got Junior from Dundalk, Max Murphy from their great rivals Shamrock Rovers, Ty Ryan, who you'd know quite well, Drogheda United, Jordan Doherty from Tampa Bay Rowdies, Grant Horton from Cheltenham on loan. They've got Ryan Cassidy from Watford on loan, and JJ McKiernan from Watford on loan, and they've got Jordan Flores in from Northampton. Now, some of the players that they have lost are Keith Ward, Anto Breslin, Rob Cornwall, Keith Buckley, Stephen McGuinness, Ross Tierney, Jack Moylan, Bastian Heary, Andy Lyons, and Georgie Kelly, and Roland Idawu. So a lot to take in there, Gary. But for me, looking at it, I think Bows are a real loser of this transfer window so far. Now, they could go on the end of the season and prove us wrong, and they have done that before. But I look at the key players that have gone out there, the Keith Buckleys and the Rob Cornwalls and Keith Wards, who kind of held that group together. So yeah, well, I suppose from your point of view, and is there any signings in that group there that have impressed you?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. I mean, some of the other key players they lost. Georgie Kelly is obviously a massive loss. Ross Tierney and Andy Lyons, even Andy Lyons and Anto Breslin in particular out of that defence, because they were key players. But having said that, Bows seem to suffer from this every year, and somehow Keith Long manages to find players, pull a team together. It must be really frustrating to lose. They've consistently done it and done so well, and then they lose all their best players and somehow seem to pull it together again. Dawson Devoy is a key guy to keep. I think it looked like he was going to leave as well, so I think it's important that he stayed. Chris Twardek is a great re-signing, and I mean, hopefully Junior will do his stuff for them. I don't know a lot about the loan signings, the guys from Watford, etc. But Keith Long is some eye for a player, and Yeah, if you're looking at it, you're probably right, Paul, to say they're the biggest losers. But if you've been looking at it pretty much every year for the last few years, Bows have been the biggest losers in the transfer window, and still managed to pull a really good squad and really good team together. But it's got to be tough to keep doing it. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree they're the biggest losers, but anyone else you'd be kind of saying really worried for them. But Bows, somehow they seem to do it.
Yeah, well, I just think like a big player that they obviously re-signed was James Talbot. I think he was in the Ireland squad last year. He was doing that well. Really came back to his best form last season. Helped him get to the cup final. They obviously lost that, and they lost a lot of players from that team. But I think keeping someone like him in there, I think he would bring those values in which some of the players like Keith Buckley and that who would have left. I think James Talbot would be one of those who'd be trying to keep that group together. And there's a lot of young players there, like Promise on with Share. I think he's going to show a lot of his potential this year. I think he's shown little bits of it last season. It was his breakthrough year, really. And I think now next season he's going to be good. Like they have Jordan Doherty and Stephen Mallon are actually good mates, and I think Ryan Cassidy is good friends with a few of the players on the team there as well. He came through the ranks with the likes of Ross Tierney and that Dawson Devoy. I know Ross has gone to Motherwell. He's done quite well at Motherwell so far. He scored his first goal and everything so far. He'll actually be a big miss for them this season as well. Ross Tierney, I think. So they've lost big players in all over the pitch. So they pretty much assembling a whole new team, and Georgie Kelly's goals are obviously going to be very hard to replace. But if Ryan Cassidy can get off the mark early, we've seen him at Watford. He scores a lot of goals. He had a bad run of injury, I think, when he went out on loan to Accrington Stanley. But I think when he is fit for it, he does score goals, and they seem to have a lot of promise for him over in Watford.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned James Talbot is a key guy. Another key guy, they basically got Ty Ryan. So, in my view, they have two excellent keepers because Ty Ryan was Treaty United's player of the season last year, and he's actually a massive loss. And so I wouldn't have any concerns at all about Bows in the goalkeeping department. And Jordan Flores is probably a good signing, proven at this level. He was excellent with Dundalk. But yeah, it keeps just. I suppose the concern I would have for Bows, as I said, is trying to, with all the ins and all the outs, it's trying to pull the squad together, get them performing. And I suppose the other issue for Bows is it's particularly galling for them to see their great rivals winning the league, because Bows have done really, really, really well in the last couple of years. But they've had to look at Shamrock Rovers being champions, which obviously is going to stick in the craw.
Yeah, and they've seen other teams now probably strengthen it, which is the next team we're actually going to go on to is in Derry. Just going to pull up Derry's re-signed, and then I'll go through the ins and then the outs. Okay, so James Akatunde, Brendan Barr, Ronan Boyce, Kieran Call, Jack Lemoyne, Patrick Ferry, Nathan Gartside, Michael Glynn, Kieran Harkin, Jamie McGonigal, Cameron McJanna, Queeveen McLaughlin, Evan McLaughlin, Danny Lafferty, Joe Thompson, Gerard Story, Owen Toll, Queeveen Porter, Oren McLaughlin, Liam Mullen, Dahi McCallion, and then who they sign in: Michael Duffy, Will Patching, Cameron Dummigan, Brian Marr, Brandon Kavanagh, Patrick McElhenney, Shane McElhenney, brothers obviously there, and Maddie Smith. So they've brought in really, really good players. And then who they've let go is Will Fitzgerald's gone to Sligo, Ronan McKinley's gone to Ballin and Mallard, Quaylen McLaughlin's gone to Institute on loan, Patrick Ferry, Ballin and Mallard on loan as well, and Bastian Heary his loan expired. I think he's signed for a club anyway. It escapes me their name at the minute. And Jack Lemoyne has gone to Ards on loan. So I know we spoke there about Bows being real losers, but you could argue that Derry have been the real winners of this transfer window. What do you think?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, you read out the players that have left, and I don't think there's any of them that they wanted to really keep on to. And they've brought in some real quality players. In particular, brought in the likes of Mickey Duffy, Patrick McElhenney, Matty Smith. There's some real talent coming into Derry. I mean, obviously, it's well known Philip O'Doherty sold his company. He went from being, I think, a millionaire to virtually a billionaire. and he is a massive fan of Derry City, and I'm sure he is behind these signings, this investment. And for me, looking at the transfer window, if anybody's going to challenge Shamrock Rovers this season, it has to be Derry City. That they are, as you say, the real winners of this transfer window, because they have brought in real quality players, and probably underachieved a bit last season, but they have really strengthened, and they would be expected to challenge for the title. I think anything worse than second would be very disappointing for the Derry fans. I know I've seen the massive queues there have been for season tickets, which is fantastic to see. And I think it's virtually impossible now to get a season ticket for the Brandywell, such as the demand. And that's another thing we can go on and talk about, is all the clubs that will be effectively nearly sold out, which is great to see. But there's a real buzz around the Brandywell at the moment. And they're also local boys coming home as well, which makes a difference. You know, that whole area produces so many quality players, and so there is a real buzz around the club, and you would hope and expect it's going to translate into a good start, and into, I think what you really have to expect is that they'll at least challenge for the title and be competitive in the cups as well. And because we talked about the real quality signings and the team that's going to be there.
Yeah, well, I spoke to Rory Higgins at the League of Ireland launch last week, and he was saying like the reason why they've got players like Brandon Kavanagh in and Brian Maher is because they've got them in on 3-year contracts, so he doesn't actually see it as being like a short term kind of fix. They are planning for longer term success, I think, and with obviously those two being such really good players coming through. I mean, to get Brandon Kavanagh off Shamrock Rovers was a huge steal in my opinion. I did say like Jack Byrne, Richie Tell, Dan Mondreo, he's not going to get in ahead of them, so it was probably wise for Derry to take a chance on him, because he was excellent at Bray last season. He just seemed like he just needed a chance and someone to take a chance on him. It looks like Derry are going to do that. And Brian Maher, I think, is a class goalkeeper. I think you'll really see the best of him now this season. And they've got Nathan Gartz out there in goal as well. So they have strength all over. And the likes of Patrick McElhenney, Michael Duffy, what they bring is league-winning experience. And, you know, I was going to say you can't buy that, but they have bought them. But you know, what they bring to a dressing room is vital. And obviously Dundalk have lost that, and they got Cam Dunnigan and Will Patching as well as another player who was quality last year while he was at Derry on loan, and I think he's only going to get better as well. So like, there's probably players there that you'd forget that will actually probably kick on again this season. The likes of Ronan Boyce had a really good year as well at the club, and I was speaking with Kevin Morrison last year on the Derry preview, and he was talking about Ronan Boyce being a key player. And he went on to be a key player. I think he got into the Ireland under-21 squad. So they've got good young players there too. And as you say, they always produce really good players. So if they can get a good mix of the two, there's absolutely no reason why Derry can't have a good season and finish in the top two and maybe a good cup run or an FAI Cup final maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. Owen Toll is another player, I think, a talented centre-half. I think he's from Armagh, not from Derry, but he's been there now a few years and really come into his own as well. So yeah, there's a real talented squad there, and if anyone is going to challenge Shamrock Rovers for the title this year, for me it has to be Derry.
Yeah. Then I'm just going to move on to Drogheda. Then I'm just doing this alphabetically the way that Andrew's done it on Pundit Arena. So re-signed Chrissy Lyons, Gary Deegan, Dane Massey, Luke Heaney, Darren Markey, Colin McCabe, James Clark, Charles Mutawe, Mohammed Boudiaf, Mark Hughes. And then their ins: Dylan Grimes from Longford Town, Dale Rooney from Shelbourne, Adam Foley from Finn Harps, Evan Weir from Maynooth, it says, Dean Williams from Shamrock Rovers, Darren Nugent from Shamrock Rovers, Andrew Quinn from Dundalk, Ryan Brennan from Shelbourne, Georgie Poynton from Shelbourne, Keith Cowan from Dungannon Swifts, Sean Rockin from is on loan from Lincoln City, and Sam Long from Lincoln City as well. Their outs: Jake Hyland, Connor Kane went to Shelbourne, Daniel O'Reilly went to Hamilton, Dinny Corcoran went to Wexford, Mark Doyle went to St. Pat's, Jordan Adeyemo went to Galway, Hugh Douglas went to Bray, Joe Redmond went to St. Pat's, James Brown went to Blackburn, and Killian Phillips went to Crystal Palace. So a lot to take in there. A lot of their good players left, but they did keep a lot of core experienced players there. So how are you feeling? Mixed on that one, or are they losers?
Yeah, I mean, look, the issue, I mean, Drogheda significantly overachieved last season. There's no bones about it. I mean, their budget is significantly lower than most of the clubs in the Premier Division. And I think, without being, I don't think any Drogheda fans could say too much on it, that survival, again, would be a huge achievement for them. And I mean, yeah, they have lost key players like James Brown. Tim Clancy's taken a couple to passing. Tim Clancy may be the biggest loss of the whole lot. So it is going to be a battle for survival. There's just no way with the budget that Drogheda can compete with the top 4, 5, 6, 7 clubs. Now, I thought it was significant. They won the Malone Cup for the first time in about 7 or 8 years there, beating Dundalk at the weekend, which was quite an achievement. And they're still punching above their weight, and but it is going to be a long, hard season for them, and it is going to be a battle to stay up. So getting in the likes of Ryan Brennan and Georgie Poynton are probably seasoned League of Ireland pros, good players to get in, etc.
I'd say Ryan, not so much Georgie.
Georgie's done the job now. He's been around the league a bit, and I think certainly there was one point that there was very high hopes for him with his talent. Maybe he hasn't.
Yeah, but I just think he's quite young still to be like a Ryan Brennan. Yeah, he's seen and done it, and he's played a lot more games. Is more so what I mean. But I wouldn't say Georgie is like a veteran of the league just yet. I mean, he still has a way to go. He could probably do it at Drogheda. But I think they're going to be good players for him, because when the going gets tough, they're generally ones, himself and Ryan are generally the ones that step up and did for Shells.
Yeah. So no, I just think they're good signings. I mean, Georgie might be young enough, but he's been around with it's Dundalk and Bowes and Shells.
Waterford.
So yeah, so exactly that he's been. He certainly is quite and it has become a really young league as well. I mean, the players are probably getting younger and younger. So maybe, some of the names that I actually don't know what age George is. Maybe he's only about 24, 25 when I think about it. But at this stage, that's more of a seasoned pro at this point, because he's been around the league for a few years. That certainly the squads are getting younger and younger. And I think there was something, that one stat which it escapes me, but that the average age in the league was significantly lower last year than it was maybe a decade ago.
Yeah, you can see that. That's why so many players are. But I spoke with Dane Massey at the League of Ireland launch, and he was saying, like, despite that Jim Malone Cup being a pre-season friendly, they were still treated like a league game. So they obviously went out with the mindset that they had to win that just to set the marker for the season. So they did that. I think him, Gary Deegan, Chris Lyons, and Darragh Markey were players that he name-checked as, the experienced players who are going to be the ones to try and galvanise the group and get them to go again this season. But I think if you look at it, a lot of the players that they lost, they're probably losers in this transfer window. I wouldn't say they're the biggest losers, but I think they're not far off Bowes because of the way their players left. But that was just down to them having a good season. They lost their manager, and they lost James Brown and Killian Phillips, and Dan O'Reilly went to Hamilton and stuff like that. So look, I think in some ways they were probably a victim of their own achievements in terms of how well they finished up in the league last year, considering they were probably tipped to go down. So unfortunately, that's just the way it is. That's the nature of the beast. And we'll move on to their good old rivals, Dundalk, and there's a bit of a total reshuffle here with this one. So re-signed Pat Hubin, big one. Dan O'Kelly, Andy Boyle, Darragh Leahy, David McMillan, Peter Cherry, Greg Sloggett, Ryan O'Kane, Mayowa and Masahoon, I hope I said that right, Brian Gartland, Mark Hanratty. Then who they got in: Sam Bowen from St. Pat's, John Mountney from St. Pat's, John Martin from Waterford, Keith Ward from Bowes, Paul Doyle from UCD, Robbie Benson from Pat's, Nathan Shepherd from Brentford, Joe Adams from Brentford as well, Dan Williams from Swansea on loan, Mark Connolly from Dundee United on loan. Stephen Bradley, not the manager of Shamrock Rovers, from Hibs on loan. And Lewis McCarry, who I think is son of that Man United legend, Lou McCarry, or his grandson, one or the other. Then out is Michael Duffy to Derry, Patrick McElhenney to Derry, Cameron Dummigan to Derry, Dan Cleary to St Johnson, Sean Murray to Glentoran, Junior to Bowes, Sonny Nadestad, Cameron Yates, and Han Jiang-Woo. It looks like they were just released. I don't think they have got clubs just yet. So that's Dundalk total reshuffle. Kept a couple of players though.
Yeah, Pat Ubin is the key one, but it is, as you said, it is a total reshuffle. The club has been taken over as well. I think there's a real buzz around the town. Stephen O'Donnell coming back. I know there's issues with Pats on that, so I want to be careful what I say about that. But certainly he's a proven manager in the league. And bringing back the likes of Robbie Benson and John Mountney, Keith Ward going back as well. So, yeah, and you mentioned a lot of the players like Andy Boyle, Brian Gartland, etc., that have been around a long time. They've won many trophies, many leagues with Dundalk, etc. But the only caveat, and Paul Doyle's a decent signing from UCD. I saw a bit of him last season. I was very impressed with him. But having
you were at the playoffs, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I saw them against. I saw them in all 4 of the playoffs, and I would have seen their league games, all the 3 league games against Treaty as well. So there is going to be a lot of pressure on Dundalk as well, though, because the fans are back. I'm sure they're going to get the crowds back, but they've been used to a lot of success, and there is going to be a lot of pressure on them to come back and challenge for the title. And even though what I've said about the signings, I don't think now. Again, I a lot of the guys you mentioned coming in from the UK, even the likes of Mark Connolly, who's local. I don't know a lot about them, and obviously Stephen O'Donnell has a very good eye for a player, as he proved last season at Pats. But he is going to be under a lot of pressure to succeed at Dundalk, because their fans have been used to them not even just challenging at the top, being unchallenged at the top for many years. And so there will be pressure. They will be expected to challenge for the title. And to me, looking on, I don't see that the quality that you see at Rovers or Derry is actually there. But time will tell. Pat Hubin is a key guy to keep, because he's a proven goal scorer in this league, and probably, if you ask me to pick out anyone, the top striker, he would be the guy I would pick. I would pick. So he's a key guy to keep. But they have lost some key players. Obviously, Mickey Duffy and Patrick McElhenney going to Derry, Sean Murray going to Glentoran. They are losing quality players as well, and so it will be a tough test for Stephen O'Donnell.
Yeah, well, I think the fans are going to have to stay, I suppose, grounded on this one. They know he's a young manager coming in, and if you give him the time, he's proven at St. Pat's he can build a good side and go from there. He's brought in a few players that he had at Pat's there, like Sam Bowen. He brought back Robbie Benson, John Mountain, who he brought with him originally to Pat's, and they helped him win things. So I think with Stephen O'Donnell, I think he'll come good over time, but it's going to take a season or 2 just to build them back up. And I think Derry and that will take their place for the time being. But if they can manage to stay patient, which I know, look, it's not, no fan really likes to stay patient in this day and age, as we know. So if they can just get those players to work well, the new signings that come in, if they can get them to work with the experienced players quickly enough, then I do think they have the quality there in patches to finish easily top 4 or top 5 easily, and maybe even above that if they strengthen maybe halfway through the season. I think that would be key as well for them. So I don't think Dundalk are that real I don't want to say that they're real losers of the transfer window, because they have seemed to have signed well as well. So I think they'll be okay. I think top 4 or top 5. I don't know whether that's good or bad in Dundalk fans' views, considering how high they were. They were untouchable 2 to 3 seasons ago.
I think Europe would have to be the minimum.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think if they got Europe, it would be would have to be considered a good season. And obviously top 4 would be good enough for Europe if they win the cup or one of the top 3 wins the cup. But I don't know about top 5. I think Europe would have to be the target. I think their fans will probably expect them to be challenging at the top, but I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, well, time will tell. I can't wait to actually just be back again. So we'll fly through them in the next half hour then. So we'll fly through these. So Finn Harps are on to next. They're re-signed at Barry McNamee, which is a big one. Ryan Rainey, David Webster, another big one. Ryan Connolly, Mark McGinley, Ethan Boyles, another big one. Mark Timlin. In Jesse Devers, I think he was at Sligo before. I think he actually was at he was at Sligo. I'm not sure. I thought he went back to Finn Harps at some point. Anyway, he's there this season. Conor Turish, Rob Slevin, Jose Carrillo, Regan Donnellan, Bastian Heary. I knew he went somewhere. I said it earlier on. That's where he's gone. Yo-Yo Maddy from Shells, which is a big one. Errol Erdal Alkan. And Philip Mihailovic, I think I said that right. Out Sean Boyd to Shells, Mark Coyle to Shells, Will Seymour. Tunde Owalabi went to Pats, Conor Barry to Wexford, and Shane McElhenney to Derry. So Finn Harps, I suppose they've re-signed well. I don't really know any of the players that have come in there from foreign clubs. I don't know anything about them. So I always get real excited to see how these new foreign players come in and adapt, and if they do well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it is a question of adapting, though. And I mean, okay, certainly some come in and be huge successes, and others obviously not so. I mean, Harps are one of those clubs that have a small budget and they've been overachieving in this division. And they have lost some key players. And it is a real frustrating thing with players on one-year contracts that they can leave for free at the end of the season. So it will be a challenge. I know Ollie Horgan works very, very hard. He attends a lot of games. I just have been to a couple of Irish League games up north myself last month. And Ollie was very proud. Well, he was trying to be actually incognito, but he was spotted at Dundalk. He was spotted at Derryview and everything. And I believe he's up every week looking for players. And I actually saw Harps against Treaty United there a couple of weeks ago, pre-season. And I suppose Harps, they probably came good in the last 15 minutes, won the game 2-0. That was Yo-Yo Magdy's debut, and he a Limerick man scoring against the Limerick side. But I think he's a good signing. He may get some goals for them. But they have lost some key players as well, so it will be a challenge. But Ollie Horgan is some manager, and with Paul Hegarty at his side, he will get the maximum out of the squad, and they will all, as always, be very tough to beat.
Yeah, I don't want to say they're losers in the transfer window here at this point. I just think that they're going to be, the fact that they've re-signed players is good for them, but it'll be interesting to see how they get on. It's hard to rate the transfer window without knowing too many of the signings that they've made. I mean, none of them really stand out to me. But anyway, so we'll move on from them. Shamrock Rovers, they only signed 2 players, but they have a lot of re-signed players from last season. Alan Manis, Leon Pauls, Sean Gannon, Sean Horley, Grace Pico Lopez, Barry Cotter, Sean Cavanagh, Sean Carey, Darren Nugent, Gary O'Neill, Chris McCann, Neil Ferrugia, Ronan Finn, Dylan Watts, Danny Mandreo, Richie Towell, Conan Noonan, Graham Burke, Aaron Green, Rory Gaffney, and Idamo Amaku. In Jack Byrne and Andy Lyons. Out Darren Nugent, Dean Williams, Max Murphy, Adam Wells, Dean McMenemy, Killian Cahill went to Brighton, Jordan Talon, Dylan Duffy, Alex Dunn, and Alex Moody. So obviously not too many in, but I don't think that was the big thing in that situation. I think the fact that Liam Scales went earlier in the season meant there was a bit of money in there for Rovers to maybe go out and get Jack Byrne, and that's what they did, and they ended up getting Andy Lyons as well, who's arguably the best right back in the league. It definitely takes away the strength from Bowes in that sense, that they could go out and get him as well. But I mean, they had a lot of re-signed players there, which is interesting. Danny Mandreo, Richie Towell, and you've got Jack. That's some midfield going forward.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Byrne is the key one. I mean, he was the standout player in the league 2 years ago. And look, Jack is someone you'd actually go to the game just to watch, just the talent he has. and just to watch him on his own. And I know season ticket sales. I was talking about the season ticket sales at the Brandywell. They've been doing really well. I think it's over 3,000 in Tala as well. And I can imagine a lot of neutrals will go along to watch Jack as well. Andy Lyons, he doesn't have the talent of somebody like Jack, but he's a good, solid pro for them, and he will certainly improve their defence. And I mean, the two players they've signed are both likely to be regular starters. And you bring in two quality players into a squad that really, okay, Liam Scales is a big loss. So he scored a great goal there for Celtic at the weekend, and he is a massive loss, a great talent. But they are champions for a reason. They have a very, very strong squad. Of all the clubs in the league, they're the ones that can afford a few injuries, etc. And it is very hard to see past them retaining their title. And they've, even though they haven't been as busy as other clubs in the window, they'll probably see it as being a very successful one. And Jack Byrne, for me, coming back to the league is an absolutely massive signing and a great, just a great asset for the league. Just to go along as a neutral and watch Jack, he's a really special player and great to see.
Yeah, I think, as you mentioned already with Jack and what he brings that little kind of bit of celebrity status to the league. I know he doesn't portray himself as a celebrity, or I don't mean it like that. What I just mean is that he's an Irish international, and if he can get back, I assume why he is going to be back in the league is to get motivated and get himself back in the Irish setup again. That seems to be all he wants to do. So if he can start the season off well. We've obviously got the games next month. He'll have his eye on that if he can stay injury free. It didn't work out at Applewell, so be it. If you don't go, you never know what might happen. He got to live a nice year in the sun in Cyprus while everyone else suffered here in the cold and wet. So look, he'll enjoy this season. I think he's in there with quality players all around. He scored the winning penalty in the shootout the other night, which was obviously a good start. Mind your earphones there. So yeah, I think Shamrock Rovers, they're not losers by any stretch. They could arguably be winners despite only signing two players, but the fact is that they've re-signed so many key players from last year, and they haven't really let go of anyone that you would say that they would want to have really kept on to, other than maybe Brandon Kavanagh.
Yeah, and I don't think Brandon Kavanagh, I mean, he was a real talent, as you said, for Bray. He looked really good last season. But I don't think Brandon Kavanagh is getting in that Rovers team yet. Liam Scales is obviously a massive loss, and he was a key player for them. And as you said, he left during the season. But I think, obviously it was a transfer. They got good money, etc. And I like the model that Rovers are moving towards now, that the players are not on one-year contracts, so they don't end up losing them for free to clubs across the water, because that has got to be really soul destroying for producing quality players and to really star in the league, and then they're out of contract in November and they can sign for anyone for free. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think as I said, I think they're in a good, healthy position, and they'll probably be favourites to win the league again this year, followed closely by Derry City. I'm going to move on to Shelbourne now. Is that okay with you?
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
So re-signed Brendan Clark, J.R. Wilson, Luke Bird, Shane Farrell, J.J. Lunny, Brian McManus, David Toure, I think he goes by, Colin Cox, Gavin Malloy, Jad Hakiki, who is a underage player, came through. In A. Dervin, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I'm going to go with A. Dervin. Conor Kane from Drogheda, Sean Boyd from Finn Harps, Mark Coyle from Finn Harps, Daniel Hawkins from Finn Harps, Jack Moylan from Bowes, Aaron O'Driscoll from Mansfield, Lewis Webb, Sean McSweeney, Dan Carr, and Jordan McAniff on loan from Arsenal. Outs: Jack Brady, Ryan Brennan, Dale Rooney, Ali Gilchrist, Georgie Poynton, Michael O'Connor, Denzel Fernandez, Yasin El Enyanya, Yo-Yo Mahdi, Eric Malloy, and Alex Nolan all left. Yeah, what are your like? I can give my thoughts now in a sec, but what are your thoughts on Damien Duff's? I suppose he's a big one as well if you include him in, because he's been part of the kind of new season as well.
Damien Duff is massive. I mean, Damien Duff is a superstar, one of our greatest for the national team, one of our greatest all-time players. And as I said many times before, he's a real thinker, a real student of the game. very much so in the Stephen Kenny mould, etc. And he hasn't. I don't think he's gone to Chelsea to be involved in a relegation battle or anything like that. It will be interesting to see how he gets on. It's great for the league to have somebody like Damien Duff managing one of our clubs. If you look at the players and look at the quality, they don't seem. I mean, you're looking around Dublin in particular, because that's probably where Shells and these Dublin derbies will be looking. For me, they don't seem to have the quality of definitely not of a Rovers or even of a Pats or a Bows as well. And it probably is one for the fans to be patient. And I hope they will be patient. I don't see Shells being involved in a relegation battle, or maybe, but I don't see them going down, certainly. But it probably will be, it will take some time for them to get up near the top half of the table, is where I would see it at the moment. I don't know, Paul, what you think. I mean, even the likes of Sean McSweeney, who was one of Treaty's better players, he's a big loss to Treaty, a huge loss actually. We've lost a real spine of our team, but it's not someone you'd expect to lose to. With all due respects to Sean, he's gone to Shells. He was definitely good enough to play in the Premier Division, but maybe not losing to the likes of a Shamrock Rovers or a Derry City, etc. Now maybe he will. Damien Duff has some eye for a player, so maybe he will to do that. But I think it will be difficult. Damien Duff as a player was somebody who played at the highest level, won the Premier League, played in the World Cup for us, was a top player, and I am sure
that great Barcelona side with Chelsea as well.
Yeah, and I'm sure he wants to be a top manager. He's a real, as I said, a real student of the game, and it will be interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's going to just see how it peters out over the course of the early games. It'd be important. Like if Shells can get a win over Pats to set the season, like they did a couple of years ago, at the first Premier Division game of the season with a sellout crowd. I think the crowd would be massive as well. It's great to have crowds back properly. So I think that'll play a big part. As far as Duffer, we haven't seen anything like regarding. He hasn't even met the fans really. He was even saying the other day. So there's a lot there that's going to be experienced over the next while. Duffer won't really care too much about what outside noise has to say. He'll only be thinking about his team and how he can get points. He won't care about anything else. We've seen that from him in the past. So yeah, it's exciting times at the club, both from the men's team and the women's team. So that one's just going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Lukey Burma, speaking to him the other day as well, he also was saying like the young players that are coming through and the sessions that are being had at the club, it seems as though everyone's pulling in the same direction, and that's usually a good sign of how things are going. So that's Shelbourne. I think a season that would be similar enough to Drogheda last season would be a good season in my view. I think anyway. So we'll move on to Sligo. Re-signed Lewis Banks, Caelan Barlow, Shane Blaney, Greg Baldry, Gary Buckley, Mark Byrne, David Cawley, Colin Horgan, Seamus Keogh, John Mahon, Adam McDonough, Ed McGinty, Robbie McCourt, Niall Morahan, Conor Walsh, Richard Brush, Conor Walsh again. It's probably the same person. And Caelan Barlow again. So they've put him in twice. So in Will Fitzgerald from Derry, Paddy Kirk from Longford, Carlos Sullivan from Finn Harps, Aidan Keena from Falkirk, and Nando Pinikar from Rio Ave on loan. Out Romeo Parks, Johnny Kenny, Luke McNicholas, Regan Donnellan, and John Mahon. So in my opinion, Sligo are losers of the transfer window. Well, they're one of the losers because they lost Johnny Kenny and John Mahon, who last season were so pivotal to the team.
And Romeo Parks and Walter Figueroa as well, who were good quality players. Yeah, I think there's no doubt. Obviously, they got good money for Johnny Kenny anyway. I don't know if John Mahon was. I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah. But and I mean, I saw only the other day the sign is it Jordan Hamilton, the Canadian international. So again, it'll be interesting to see how these guys work out. And Sligo, I mean, they're a fantastic community club. The town is football only, and it's football daft, and they do an incredible job there. It was some achievement for them to finish third and qualify for Europe, and it's going to be a real challenge for them to repeat that level again, particularly with some of the key players that they've lost.
Yeah, exactly. I spoke to Greg Balger at the launch as well. All these videos that I've been speaking about are all on the channel for anyone listening. And he was saying, like, just the same as last season would be considered a good season for the club. So I think that's fair to say. But I think they're losers of the transfer window just because the two players that they have are probably their two best players. Players like Greg Balger and that will obviously be key players for them. But Johnny Kenny was the ones frightening the lives out of the top teams and stuff like that, and he's only a youngster. John Mahon was so good and had such a wealth of experience actually for such a young lad. You spoke about Georgie Poynton earlier being a veteran so far, or well, not that nature of the word, but
I think more a seasoned pro rather than a veteran.
Yeah.
That has been around the league for a few years, and you know what you'll get. You get.
Well, John Mahon actually developed into one of those players, and he was probably one of the best centre backs in the league. So for St Johnstone to get him and Dan Cleary was a massive coup for St Johnstone. Big loss for obviously Dundalk and for.
I think Dan Cleary went in a free transfer as well. And I said I'm not sure about John Mahon, but yeah, it's really frustrating to lose players like that, particularly if they're going for free.
Yeah, especially at that quality. It's a massive gain for the Scottish clubs. Same thing with Ross Tierney. But anyway, we're going to move on to Pats then. I've got UCD and that's it. So Chris Forrester re-signed, Ian Birmingham, Billy King, Jason McClellan, Paddy Barrett, Dara Burns, James Abankwa, he's on loan, back on loan, and then he's signed for Udinese on loan in the summer, but he's back on loan with Pats till then. Ben McCormick, Keane Corbally, Josh Keeley, Sam Curtis, Jamie Lennon, Adam Murphy, Ronan Coughlin and Ben Curtis. In Anto Breslin for Bowes, Mark Doyle from Drogheda, Tunde from Finn Harps, Joe Redmond from Drogheda, Owen Doyle from Bolton scored the other night against Shamrock Rovers, Jack Scott, Adam O'Reilly from Preston on loan, Tom Grivosti from Ross County, and James Bancroft on loan from Udinese, as he said. Outs Sam Bowen, Robbie Benson, John Mountney, Lee Desmond, Alfie Lewis, Thomas Lonergan, James Abankwa and Matty Smith. So I think they actually have lost a lot of good players there, but they have signed quite well as well. So I'm not going to... I'd say they had a decent transfer window considering the players they lost.
They had, and I mean, but the big loss obviously is their manager, Stephen O'Donnell, and some of the players he took with him. But also then to lose the likes of Matty Smith and Lee Desmond, who were two key players for them last season. But they've got Tim Clancy in, who's a fantastic young manager in the league, and he's a great replacement. And yeah, I think you're right. I think they've had a decent transfer window and got in some good players. And I mean, they are FAI Cup holders as well. They are in Europe. I think they will. Owen Doyle, of course, absolutely massive signing and a great goal scorer. I was talking about Pat Hooban being the best goal scorer in the league, but Owen Doyle is a proven quality goal scorer for so many years. And as you said, he scored against Rovers the other night, and I imagine he's going to grab a load of goals for Pats. So, fantastic season for them last season to win the FAI Cup. I think they'll hope to challenge for the title. I certainly see them being top 3 or 4 without a doubt, and maybe just quite not the quality of a Shamrock Rovers or a Derry, but they may not be far away. And some very good signings. I think good times around Inchicore, probably good times around all the buzz around all the Dublin clubs at the moment. So it's actually a great buzz around the league. In the Premier Division, I think season ticket sales across the board have been really good. I think fans are really looking forward to getting back to live football. And I think Pats will be worth watching definitely this year.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the fact that they won the FAI Cup as well would have probably got some new fans on board for them, the day out, the Aviva and stuff like that. And that's what we want, is, the buzz around the league and stuff. You all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we'll just finish on UCD and then we'll go on. You've had 5 minutes then. Yeah, just lastly, well, I think with St. Pat's, I think, again, if they can emulate last season's finish, that would be a bonus for them. I think that's what they'll be looking to do. I don't think that they'll win the cup again, though. I think Rovers will be aiming probably to do the double. Derry will be there. I think teams are stronger around them this time around. So look, it makes for a good title race, or it makes for a good top 4 race if you want as well. So I think it's going to be a good, strong, competitive league, and it seems as though everyone can beat anyone on any given day. So yeah, we just finished on UCD then. So re-signed Lorcan Healy, Sam Todd, Donald Higgins, Adam Lennon, Sean Brennan, Evan O'Sam, Harry McAvoy, Michael Gallagher, Luke Brewer, Jack Keeney, Owen Farrell, Colin Whelan, Adam Virgin, Liam Kerrigan, Harvey O'Brien, Adam Farrell, Mark Dignam, and Kieran Behan. In is Alex Dunn from Rovers, Dylan Duffy from Rovers, Thomas Lonigan from Pats, Alex Nolan from Shells, and Cian Moore from Bows under 19s, and out was Paul Doyle to Dundalk. So I suppose they've done okay to keep hold of Liam Kerrigan and Colin Whelan, who are to be the biggest two that you would consider there. I think if they do well, they could may well be on their way, like what happened with Ferrugia and Gary O'Neill when they went to Shamrock Rovers that time. UCD were up there 2 years ago, I think it was. I think that will probably happen to them over the course of the season. I think UCD and Finn Harps will probably be favourites to be down near the bottom. So it's no real surprise that the players that they brought in are kind of young, up and coming players, and they just seem to be kind of giving them a chance at Premier Division level.
Yeah, I mean, Evan Weir, I think, is a big loss at the back as well. I know he's
the Drogheda now, is it?
Yeah, he went via Maynooth or something, but
yeah. Dane Massey actually name checked him as a great player at left back.
So he's a loss, and Paul Doyle obviously, but keeping hold of Colin Whelan and Liam Kerrigan is absolutely crucial. I mean, they were a very high scoring team. They were great to watch in the first division last season. They also conceded a lot of goals, but so it will be really tough because they have a very young side. They will be entertaining to watch, but definitely they're going to be in a relegation battle. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I was a bit surprised they won the playoffs, but deservedly so, and you can't argue with them. And but it will be a battle for them to stay up. But they're probably one of those teams. They won't mind if they get relegated. They'll just regroup and probably come back again. But they'll certainly be entertaining to watch. And if you're around Belfield and you want to see some good football, they play football the right way, and they'll score quite a lot of goals. They'll also concede a lot of goals, and but it will be a long season for them. Yeah,
we're gonna have to get you new headphones for the next show anyway. They keep falling out your ear there. But yeah, I think it's exciting times in the league. There's some good players coming into the league this season. There's new ones coming in as well. So I think it's going to be exciting to see how things go. We're going to leave it at that in terms of our. Sorry, Gary. Just before we go, overall, your real winner and your real loser.
So, well, the real winner, I think, for me, is Derry City. I mean, with the quality they've brought in, and I suppose, if I have to pick a loser, it's probably torn between Bows and Drogheda. Maybe Drogheda with the real quality players that they've lost. The likes of Dan O'Reilly, James Brown were really, really good. Killian Phillips, they were really, really good players, and they're going to be a big loss for them. But for me, Derry are the real winners, even though Rovers have got the likes of Andy Lyons and Jack Byrne back.
Yeah, no, I would actually agree there with everything you said there. So, yeah. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new to the channel. And let us know what game you're attending at the weekend. Because I'll be at Shelbourne. You'll be in 3D. And there'll be a few of us around the league as well. So looking forward to it. Can't wait to get back. We'll probably have a preview video as well before the weekend is out. So yeah, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much for watching. And we'll chat to you then.
Thanks, guys.